Now we have f of x is x minus 5, and g of x is x minus 3. Now, I didn't really give myself enough room. So let's go ahead and find the domain of f of x. So the domain of f of x, remember, guys, whenever under a radical, we can only take the square root of positive numbers. That means x minus 5 has to be greater than or equal to 0. This is what we needed to know from our last quiz. So to find the domain, I just add 5 to both sides. X has to be greater than or equal to 5. So we can say the domain is all numbers greater than 5. OK, now let's go ahead and find the domain of g of x. So the other restriction we talked about for the last quiz was you can divide by negative numbers. You just can't divide by 0. So we want to find the values that make the denominator equal to 0. So we set the denominator equal to 0, and we solve for x. And we figure out the only number that makes the denominator 0 is 3. And you probably didn't even need to do the math. You could have just looked at it and said, oh, 3 does not work. So the domain in this case is all real numbers except for 3. OK? So now let's look at the product. Let's multiply these. So f times g of x is going to be a radical x minus 5 times 1 over x minus 3. Holy crap. How do you multiply a square root times a fraction? Well, just going back to your fraction idea, guys, if you don't have something that's represented as a fraction, write it as a fraction. All right? And when you multiply fractions, you just multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, right? So this is simply just going to be square root of x minus 5 over x minus 3. So to understand this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a number line of each domain. Because when we multiply the product, do we still have the radical of f of x? Yes? Do we still have that restriction? Do we still have the restriction of x minus 3? Or x? Yeah. So if we were going to graph this domain, let's make this 0, 3, this one 5. So this one's saying, I don't want to. Yeah, well. So this domain is going to be all real numbers, all numbers greater than 5. So it'd look like this. And this domain is all numbers except for 3. So you see we have 2 domains and 2 restrictions, correct? So if we're going to find the domain of the product, what we have to do is find the intersection of these 2 domains. So when we look at this, we say, all right, well, what interval do those 2 domains intersect? 5 to infinity, right? So the domain here, so this is our product. The domain is just going to be 5 to infinity. OK, so in some